Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, directed by André Øvredal, starring Zoe Margaret Colletti, Michael Garza, and Gabriel Rush. A group of teens face their fears in order to save their lives. I was born in the mid-'80s, so I grew up with the Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark book series. It was a series that I read a lot as a kid, and I have a lot of fond memories reading these by the fireplace when I was really little in the early 90s, and scaring myself before I go to bed. So when I heard that André Øvredal was going to be directing a feature film adaptation of these short stories, I was incredibly excited. If you haven't seen his film, The Autopsy of Jane Doe, I highly recommend it. I believe it's on Netflix. And so my excitement going into this film was really high. The rating of it being PG-13 never bothered me. That may bother some people because there is little to no blood and gore. There's a little bit here and there when it's needed, but it's very minimal. But taking into consideration that the stories themselves aren't overly gory and were aimed towards kids, I can see why they made that decision. And what happens with it being PG-13 is that the stories are a lot more original and a lot more creative. I absolutely had a blast watching this in theaters. Growing up with the stories, it was cool seeing the stories that I read as a kid being up on the big screen. I also really like the direction of André Øvredal. He knows how to be able to set up the right kind of atmosphere in a film. And he's really good at just telling these scary stories. If you've seen The Autopsy of Jane Doe, he does a great job of pacing out the scares and that every single scare is earned. Within this film, that's the same thing. There's maybe one or two jump scares that aren't legitimate scares, but for the remainder of the film, when there are jump scares, they work really well. I feel like this can be enjoyed by both teenagers and adults because it is very easily accessible, and they're just overall a lot of fun. As far as the cast is concerned, these young actors are all really good. What helps to make the performances that much better is the fact that they're well written. They seem like kids. And another thing that I really like about this film is that it takes place in the late 1960s. You have an America that has just lost the president, John F. K., and you're now going into an election for Nixon, and the Vietnam War is happening, and there's a lot of fear. And there's also this other part of the story with the character Ramon, who is confronting some racism for him being a Mexican American. And although these are really heavy topics to have in a haunted house story, it didn't feel preachy. What it did actually was be able to enhance the characters and to be able to have that backdrop of turmoil and fear and real world fear. And so these kids, these different fears that they have start to manifest themselves. And I really enjoyed that about this film. Special effects in this were really well done. I really liked them a lot. They were fantastical enough, but also felt like they were grounded, which was really great. They found a good balance. These ghosts that feel like they are from another world, that they come straight out of the book. And if you look at the drawings from the original stories, they are so on point with how they looked in the books. It's really awesome. The pacing is really well done. There doesn't really feel like a lot of lulls. The stories themselves and once the monsters show up are a ton of fun, and I loved that aspect. But my one nitpick would be is that I wish that there were just a bit more of the scary portions in the film. I feel like it only happened very rarely, and when it did happen, it was really good. So with all that said, I'm gonna give Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark and add to the collection. It's a ton of fun, it's a great time at the theater, and who doesn't love a haunted house story? If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to leave a like, and if you want to see more content like this, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much for coming by, and I'll see you guys next time.